Good morning, Rai Rabotai. We are continuing on Masechet Avodah Zarah. We are on Daf Yudchet, Amud Bet, the first wide line. Today's Amud is being learned. L'schut Yehoshua ben Diana, Yael bat Rivka, Menashe ben Asit. This Amud is also being learned. Leilu Nishmat, Tzipora bat Yitzchak. The Gemara says next part of the Mishnah that we had, Tanu Rabbanan, HaHolech Stadyanin, or Lecharkom. Stadyanin is like, we translated like stadiums, but there are places that were built basically like this stadium's structure. You've seen it in Rome, still the remnants of it is still there, that they used to have bullfights. They would have different wild animals killing people who were slaves or people who did not deserve life in the eyes of the Romans. This was considered one of the pastimes for the Romans. They had all kinds of different letzanuts. They had entertainments. The entertainment as an industry was created basically and developed by Romans. And if you go and visit Rome, they'll tell you that this is something that they did in order to keep people busy, for them not to rebel and to just be contained. That's what they say, actually, historically speaking. Nowadays is called internet, right? And phones. People are just busy. You could live a whole lifetime wasting the time on that, which is going to actually be part of what the sugya is going to have, mipene bitul Torah, because of waste of life, basically because of moshav letzim. So the Gemara says, a person that goes there, leistadyanin or charkom. Charkom is, according to Rashi, when they used to lay siege on a city. So what do you do when you have a siege on the city the whole day? You're waiting for them to give in, basically. You're cutting their import, export, and sometimes they would cut off their water supply from outside the city, and they would just stay there until they would crumble and give in. So what do you do when you're outside? You have tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people just around a city. So they would have also all kinds of letzanut and entertainment for pastime. According to the Ran, this is something that was built actually for entertainment and pastime. So if a person goes there, if you go there and you see the magicians, right, Mukyon, Mulyon, Velulion, Belorin, and Salgorin, all of the Dvarim HaKadoshim that they had, different types of letzanut and entertainment, Hareze Moshav Letzim. This is considered halachically a Moshav Letzim. You're sitting with Letzim, mockers, and people who spend their time in a kavua way, in a set way, spending their time on Dvarim Shel Ma Bekach, things that are not important. So says the Gemara, Ve'alehem HaKatuv Omer, and them David HaMelech says in the very first pasuk in Tehillim, this is Perek Aleph, pasuk Aleph, Ashrei Ha'ish asher lo halach ba'atzat reshaim, fortunate is the man that does not go to atzat reshaim, uvderech hata'im lo amad, uvemoshav letzim lo yashav. There's three steps that David HaMelech explains there. It says, Asher lo halach, a person that didn't go ba'atzat, it didn't go in the advice of Chataim. And the Gemara is going to now ask, when you don't go ba'atzat reshaim and you don't stand in the pathway of Chataim, u'moshav letzim lo yashav, and you don't sit in the gathering of scoffers and mockers. So says the Gemara, wait 1 second, how does that even work? Ki betorat Hashem chefso. The pasuk ends, but he loves the Torah of Hashem. In other words, David HaMelech says, fortunate is the person that doesn't do A and B and C, and he does D, right? He doesn't go to the gatherings, the pathways, and to the advice of these negative people, but he's also not parav. He does positive. He loves the Torah of Hashem, and he is thinking and making himself busy with. He is busy with the Torah of Hashem, Yomam Valayla, day and night. So says the Gemara, Halamata, you learn from this, says the Gemara, what's the problem of standing in the path of Reshaim, in the Atzad Reshaim, and Derech Chataim, and Moshav Letzim? What's the problem with it? Says the Gemara, because Devarim halalu mevim et adam lidei bitul Torah. These things bring a person to waste his life. And wasting life, now we talk about killing time. Killing time is killing yourself. Bitul Torah is actually considered a great sin. It's not that you have to do positively something negative. Sitting and doing nothing, like Mesilat Yesharim says something so powerful, says, you think doing nothing is okay. But Shlomo Melech says something so wise. Says, Al sadeh ish atzel avarti, val kerem adam chasar lev. I passed by a field of an atzel, a lazy man, and on a vineyard of a person that doesn't care. Right? Chasar lev, he doesn't care, he doesn't pay attention. Vehine, you think, okay, so the fruits are not going to be so luscious, it's not going to be so productive. Says Shlomo, no, much worse than that. Hine kulo ala kim sholim, pasuk panav charulim, vegeder avanav ne'ersa. The whole thing is full of weed, and the walls and the fences are broken. And says Shlomo Melech, va'anochi erech haziti ra'iti lakachti musar. Says, I see this, I pay attention, and I get musar. Me'at shenot, me'at terumot. You say, let me sleep a little bit, especially in times of hot, this makes a lot of sense, right? Say, me'at shenot, I want to sleep a little bit. Me'at terumot, a little nap. Me'at chibuk yadayim nishkav, I want to hug myself to sleep a little bit. U'bakim halech reshecha u'machsorcha ke'il shmagen. You'll most definitely be guaranteed to be lacking when you need something. So that's the thing of laziness. Now this is even worse than that. You're sitting with people who are wasting their life, scoffers. And says the Gemara, the very least thing that does to a person is bitul Torah. The Gemara says in Masechet Brachot, we had this together on Daf Hey. The Gemara says, if hayu yisurim ba'im alav, if a person is undergoing yisurim chalila, he should be yefashvesh b'ma'asav. You should look into what you're doing, because HaKadosh Baruch Hu always does milaka. Bishvesh v'lo matzah. If you looked and you couldn't find, yitle bitul Torah. You know what's the overarching avera that causes yisurim? Bitul Torah. Wasting time. When you could learn and you don't, that's considered the greatest avera. So says the Gemara, halamata, you learn from here. These things bring you to waste your life and do bitul Torah. The Gemara now says, wait a second. So you're telling me going to Istadyanin and Karkom is Asur. That's what you're saying. But I found a different Braita that seems to indicate not like that. Urmini, Holchile Istadyanin. You can go to Istadyanin, no problem. Why is it no problem? Sometimes you see they open the door and this person comes out and the bull is supposed to kill it. Right? That's the game. Thousands of people are standing up there watching how this bull fights this guy to death. And sometimes you see, oh, that's Reuben. And I don't know what the rules of the game was, but sometimes the people who are watching, the people present, could yell and say, no, we don't want him to be dying. And sometimes they listen. You could save a person's Jewish life. So your presence could be actually beneficial as one of the participants, and hence will be mutar. And also, says the same Braita, ul karkom, you could also go to this siege thing that we mentioned, or according to the Ran, this building that they had for Litzanut, also because Mipene Yishuv Medina also could have something good coming out of it, that sometimes you have Jews living in that city, and you could ask the people who were there laying siege, you could convince the head generals and officers that when they actually take over the city, they should save the Jews. Say, look, we are so good. We have 24% of all the Nobel Prizes, and that's after the anti-Semitism. So maybe you should keep these guys. You could have influence to save Jewish life. So in both cases, says the Gemara, this Braita seems to be not like our Gemara. Our Gemara seems to say, Karkom Asur. You cannot attend Istadyanin. You cannot attend Karkom. And this Braita seems to say, no, you could go because it could be beneficial. So it's a stira. It's a contradiction. Of course, the Braita qualifies it to say that you cannot participate in the Bitul Torah that they're doing, in the activities that they do. You cannot participate in that. Or itchashev means you can't be counted as one of the army that they're going to go fight and kill people. If you're already participating with them, then it will be asur. So says the Gemara, kasha istadyanin, istadyanin. Kasha karkom, akarkom. Both parts of this Braita seem to contradict what we just learned in the Gemara. Our Gemara says, istadyanin asur or mutar? Asur. Karkom asur or mutar? Asur. Oh, everything is asur. This Braita seems to say everything is mutar because you could be potentially saving a life, and that's sufficient for making it mutar. So says the Gemara, Bishlam akarkom lo kasha. I could answer why this siege business is not a stira, because the Braita itself says, the Braita says that if you're saving life and you're not part of them, you're not participating, is mutar. If you're participating, is asur. So we could say our Gemara who says asur is for someone that's a participant. That's asur. But if you're going there only to save potentially a Jewish life and you're not participating, that's mutar. So that's not a stira. What you have to answer is the istadyanin. Kam mitchashev imahen, kam b'shen mitchashev imahen. Ela istadyanin kasha. That's a problem. So says the Gemara, Tanai. It's machloket Tanaim. The Tanya, we learned in the Braita, this very machloket about istadyanin. You cannot go to football, to istadyanin, mipene moshav letzim. It's considered the meeting of scoffers. You cannot go. Rabbi Natan matir mipene shene dvarim. And Rabbi Natan allows it for two different reasons, says the Gemara. What are the reasons? One of them is what we just learned. That if you see a Jew coming out to bullfight, you could yell and scream and protest, and maybe, just maybe you could save a life. And the second one is, even if you were not successful, and Nebuch Rahman Litzlan, this Jew was killed by the bull, and you saw they came and they checked his vitals and he's gone, or the lions ate him, so at least you are eyewitness that this Reuben guy died. Now, nobody knew beforehand. It's not like nowadays that they had wild records and they had newspapers and internet and so on. If you didn't know where Reuben is, you didn't know where he is. Now, that was taken by the government. Does anyone know if he is sold as a slave to outside, or he is still kept in the dungeon? Or nobody would know where this Yid is. And therefore his wife would be Almanut Chayot, would be a living Almanah, which would be not allowed to get married. In order for a woman to be able to get remarried, you need halachot of agunah. And Siman Yud Zayin, you'll find tremendous. You take a look at Even Ezer Siman Yud Zayin in Shulchan Aruch, and you'll see massive Pitchet Tshuva on every page of Shulchan Aruch. So many tshuvot. This guy went missing. That guy went missing. These unfortunately were daily questions that people had to deal with. Like nowadays, you have DNA, you have other things that makes it much easier. And Nebuch, unfortunately, the World Trade Center, had some of these cases that they were able to find tissues of their body and bones and so on and so forth, and do DNA testing, and that's how the wives were allowed. Chacham Obadiah in the Yom Kippur War, he had 900 some change of cases, tikim of akunot, that he sat for almost the better part of a year to discuss, to go over the evidence and so on and so forth. Sometimes one evidence is what does it. And that's the only thing that would do it. So says the Gemara, the second reason is, if you do see that this Yid was killed Nebuch, then you could go and be me'id for Edut Isha. You could go say, unfortunately I saw it, I was an eyewitness on the death of this guy. His wife, the Bedin should allow to get remarried. Tanu Rabbanan, says the Gemara, we learned, En olchin letartiaot ulkarkasiaot mipnei shemezablin sham zibul la'avodat kochavim. You can't go to the theaters, that's how we translated karkasiaot. These are places that they had these activities of letzanut, but they also had activities of Avodah Zarah. Mezablin sham zibul la'avodat kochavim. This is Machloket Rishonim. What exactly is Mezablin la'avodat kochavim? Rashi understands Mesadrin sorchei avodat kochavim leitnadev la. They would take care of all the needs of the idol, the getchka, the Avodah Zarah. They would give tzedakah to its well-being. Other Rishonim write that they perhaps would actually slaughter something in front of it and would be korbanot for Avodah Zarah. So you can't go there. You cannot go to these places. Divrei Rabbi Meir. That's what Rabbi Meir holds. Chachamim hold, no, makom shemezablin asur. It's like tiatriaot vekarkasaot. These are theaters, other areas of public gathering. They don't necessarily have this activity of Avodah Zarah. If they have, it's asur. If they don't have, it's mutar. Now, Rabbi Meir holds that they always have it, and therefore it's asur. So says the Gemara, if they have this mezablin, the gathering for the benefiting the Avodah Zarah, then it's asur say chachamim. Why? Because if one person sees you walk into this tiatriaot, and it's a place that they actually take care of the Avodah Zarah, and they say, oh, this guy comes to Amud Yomi, I thought he's from. Right? Now look at this, he's going to this place, probably he's doing Avodah Zarah. He's living a double life. Right? Chashad. It's because of the suspicion that you're bringing upon yourself. So says the Gemara, a place that they don't do this zibul avodat kochavim. They don't take care of the needs of avodat kochavim. Chachamim say it's mutar. Then it's mutar because of that, but it's asur mipnei moshav letzim. There's no chashad, but still it's asur because it's the gathering of scoffers. So says the Gemara, wait a second. So what's the difference then? It's always asur. You're telling me Rabbi Meir holds it's always asur because they do avodah zarah, and Chachamim say, well, if they do this thing of mezablin avodat kochavim, it's asur because of chashad. If they don't do that, then it's also asur because of a different reason of moshav letzim. So it's asur. So bottom line, Rabbi Meir always asur. Chachamim always asur. So what do I care why it's asur? It's asur. So who cares about this machloket tanaim? The halacha psuka is when you write the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, mutar asur to go to Batei Tiatriyaot asur. So why do I care? Why? Says the Gemara, no, it makes a big difference. My benayhu, what's the difference? Amar Rabbi Chanina Misura, Nasa venatan ika benayhu. The difference is if you already did business there, you got money, you sold something and you got their money. Well, if you say it's because of Chashad Avodah Zarah, then the money could be a Tikrovet Avodah Zarah, could be a money that's asur to have any hana'ah from. But if you say that the isur is only because of Moshav Letzim, then if you did it and you went there, so you did the isur by going there, but the money you made will be completely mutar. There's no question on the money. So says the Gemara, Darash Reb Shimon Pazi. My dichtiv, what is the pasuk's meaning when he says Ashrei ha'isha shelo alach be'atzad reshaim? The first pasuk in Tehillim. Fortunate is the person that did not go in the etzah of reshaim. He did not follow the advice of reshaim. U'b'derech hata'im lo amad, and he does not stand in the path of sinners. U'v'moshav letzim lo yashav, and in the gatherings of scoffers he does not sit. Now, there's an obvious problem with this. You know, we deal with this every year when we learn about Avraham Avinu in Parashat Lech Lecha. So, Lech Lecha ma'artzecha, u'mimolatecha, u'mibet avicha. Leave your country and your city and your house. And what's the obvious question? How can you leave your country without leaving your city? And how can you leave your city without first leaving your house? It's opposite. You should say, leave your house, and not only that, also your city, and not only that, also your country. It should be like that, right? So here's the same problem. Ashrei ha'ish asher lo halach be'atzad reshaim. He doesn't even go to atzad reshaim. He doesn't follow anything. U'b'derech hata'im lo amad. You have to be on the derech to be omed. Right? If you never went to Atzad Reshaim, you will never find yourself in Derech Hatayim. Right? Ubemoshav letzim lo yashav, that's already like residing somewhere, sitting there. If you never went and you never stood, you will never be sitting. So it's a backwards, you should say, Moshav letzim lo yashav. Not only that, Derech Hatayim lo amad, and not only that, lo alach b'Atzad Reshaim. So the Gemara says, this is coming to teach you one of the greatest musar points in life. You know how the Yetzer Hara operates? The Gemara says that Yetzer Hara never comes and says, oh, do Avodah Zarah. That doesn't work like that. He comes and says, oh, you're so tired. You know, it's slichot time. Chaval alecha. Right? Rahmanut on you. 5 more minutes of sleep. Right? From 5 minutes more sleep, you miss the minyan. You miss minyan a few days. You're going late anyways, don't go even. Right? You could daven so much with more kavanah at home. Right? No one's there. You could daven, cry to Hashem for half an hour. Right? And then you stop going to minyan. Next thing you see is like, oh, you're so busy. Little by little, he's not davening shaharit anymore. Right? Mrs. Minaha now. Right? And then, before you know it, you come back to 2-3 more decades, you see he's married to a goy and has a whole mishpaha, and it's all started from not coming to Amud Yomi, right? so that's how it works. So it says the Gemara, you know how it works? This is how it starts. When he didn't go, how does he stop and stand in the derech hata'im? How does this work? It's the opposite order. Says the Gemara. It's coming to teach you, if you go, sofo la'amod. If you start going, so I'm not going to do this. Yes, you're going to do it. It's just a matter of time. And if you stood in their path, even though they say, I'm not going to do anything, right? So for leshev, you'll end up sitting next to them and being one of them. And you say to yourself, I'm never going to actually do the letzanut. But if you did, ve'im yashav, so for lalutz, you will most definitely be one of the letzim yourself. Ve'im latz alav hakatuv omer, and if you did do that, then the pasuk, a different pasuk says, im chachamta lach, ve'latzta levadecha tisa. You will be the beneficiary of your own your own mitzvot and the subject of negativity to your own averot. A person is helping himself and affecting himself more than anything else with his actions, which is something that Be'ezrat Hashem we will pick up and we will continue in the days to come.